Serie A is back, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, every single major European football league, with the exception of Liga, is back in full swing. This weekend, Serie A, the last of the four to return. You're watching London's finest. Will Fowler, Andrew Myers, Jonathan Banks. If you've been with us before, you know how this works. We are going to dive into our Serie A preview, 5 categories: club to watch, player to watch, top scorer, Champions League finishers, and league winner. These shows are always exciting because it's completely and entirely opinion-based. There's a lot of disagreements. We've got more of that today. But before we dive into it, gentlemen, right now as we're recording, we are about 2 hours away from the Premier League's weekend matches getting underway. We're recording this Friday around noon. Norwich and Southampton are about to get underway. Tottenham and United are getting set to get underway. A big weekend ahead of us in all 4 major European leagues. How are we feeling? This is like the 11th hour until we get a full 48 hours of viewing, as Andrew said on our show on Friday, 24-2. So an exciting weekend coming up. How are you guys feeling?
Good.
Thank you for coining my phrase, the 24-2.
You actually forgot to mention that we're also 24 hours away from Jonathan Cohen getting ready to go in Israel to try and bag a goal or bag a brace for Maccabi Tel Aviv. So that's also big news. But, yeah, football on the docket all weekend long is exactly what we signed up for. And basically from here on out, we're getting some sort of Premier League or La Liga action for the rest of time.
Yes, true. Maccabi Tel Aviv. I've already forgotten his name, Banks. You said it 10 seconds ago.
Jonathan Cohen.
Jonathan Cohen.
Doesn't get more Israeli than that.
2020, 2021 Ballon d'Or finalist. You heard it here first.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been with us before, you know what our board looks like. These are our categories. This is what we'll break down. We've got the Serie A backdrop in there. Everything is official. Let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right into it. Andrew, Serie A club to watch. You are always the first one on this list because I'm too lazy to shuffle around the order. So, as per the usual, you will start us off. Who's your Serie A club to watch?
Yes, sir. Thank you for giving me the honor of all 4 of our previews of me being the first to go in each category. Serie A, if people don't know, there's one obvious team who's dominated the past decade. That's Juventus. And then you have, the historic clubs who have kind of dropped a little bit with Inter, AC Milan, Napoli. But I'm going with a newer club that's kind of jumped into the spotlight the past couple seasons. I'm going with Atalanta. Newly promoted side about, I think, 8 years ago it was when they won Serie B and got promoted, and they were the typical promotion side fighting for relegation year in, year out. But the past couple seasons, they've really turned a corner, finished 3rd last year, 7th the year before, 4th the year before that. And this year they're showing that they're not just a fluke. They're putting on these nice runs in the Champions League as well. They made it to the quarterfinals this year. This is just an attacking side that just scores goals, and that's literally all they do. Defensively, they're pretty solid too. They've only given up 34 goals on the year. But if you look at the Serie A table and the goals scored per team, there's not a lot of goals scored outside of the top 8. So I don't know how much stock you put in that defensive record, but offensively, they're far and away the highest scoring team in the league. 70 goals. The second highest is Lazio with 60. So they just go out, they score goals. What I love about Atalanta is they don't have a star on their team. You look at their roster, their leading scorer is 32-year-old Serbian international Josip Ilicic with 21 goals this season. And then if you go on trustytransfermarket.com, their highest valued player is Duvan Zapata at $36 million. So they don't have any fancy young starlets. They don't have, any studs out there. They just go out there, they play as a team, they work as a team, they score a ton of goals, and they win key matches. So I'm excited to watch these guys go out there and get a high-flying restart here in these last 12 matches. Unfortunately, they're not really in the title race. It's just a 2-horse race right now. I think they're 13 points off. But they're an exciting team to watch, and they should be, fighting for Champions League spots for years to come. And maybe if they keep developing these players and maybe bringing in, some star names, if they continue on this path of trajectory, maybe we'll see them competing for titles in the next couple of years. But Atalanta's an exciting team to watch now, and I'm excited to see them in the future and today as well.
Atalanta is a really fascinating club. They were originally a club that I was thinking about choosing, and then I chose another club, and then I got to the conclusion that I'm at. So my club to watch, I didn't overthink it, is Lazio. And that is because when you look at the bigger picture of what is happening in Serie A, it's hard to forget that Juve is only 1 point clear. Easy to forget because Juve is 1 point clear. 2010-2011 was the last time they didn't win Serie A. even though Lazio's 1 point behind, no one's really thinking that Lazio has a real chance to win Serie A. I know it still hasn't really registered in my mind that there's a chance Juve loses this even with a 1 point cushion. But when you look at it, Lazio is a team that has just been playing the right way the entire season. They've scored 10 more goals than Juventus, given up one less. The goal difference is through the roof. So if they tie on points with Juve, they're golden. But, I mean, everyone knows that Ciro Immobile is the guy that gets them going. And obviously, if they win the title, it's because he's going to build on the 30 goals he has in all competitions this season. But they have so many quality players. It's hard to pinpoint one player. I'll get to one of them a little later. But when you think about it, everyone knows Milinkovic-Savic because he's been linked everywhere. Felipe Caicedo has been excellent this year, not just scoring, but in his hold-up play and doing everything else. They're just a well-oiled machine with so many quality players that you can just put in any situation. And they're a team that they're going to have some fight to them. And they play Juventus coming up in the stretch. And if Juve drops points, because they haven't scored in 180 minutes this season, this could be really interesting. So why not watch a club that is able to dethrone the champions and one of the best teams in the world that has Cristiano Ronaldo, mainly to win the Champions League, but also to never slip up in Serie A?
Yeah, when I was choosing my club to watch, I had 3 clubs in mind that I was choosing from. One of them was Atalanta, one of them was Lazio. So I'm glad that all 3 of us are on the same wavelength because we all kind of were in that same frame of mind. I think both of these clubs are interesting when you look at what the future holds for them. Atalanta, obviously, maybe the most exciting side in Italy. Last year qualifying for its first ever Champions League, despite having like the 4th lowest payroll, I think, or the 4th lowest club value in the entire division. Obviously now they've qualified, I believe, for the Champions League quarterfinal after whooping Valencia across 2 legs. And then Lazio too, like you said, Banks, a point off Juventus, who's a team that has won Serie A what feels like every single season since World War II. I mean, it hasn't really been close for Juventus in Serie A, and Lazio are giving them a run for their money, which is relatively new too, because up until maybe January, early February, everyone thought that Inter Milan was going to be that club to push Juventus to the end and to challenge them for the title. Inter Milan has gotten worse. Lazio has gotten a hell of a lot better, and now Lazio are the team on Juventus's heels. But the team that I chose is one that I don't think will come as a surprise to either one of you because I've talked about them extensively on the show, especially in the last couple of weeks, and that team is Napoli. I mean, Napoli is not a team that's going to push for the title. They may have difficulties pushing for a top 4 spot. But when you look at what they've done recently, Napoli is a team with, in 26 matches, 11 wins in Serie A. 11 wins in 26 matches, but 5 wins. 5 of those 11 have come in their last 6 matches. They ended the first half, quote-unquote, of the Serie A season in red-hot form. 5 of the last 6, obviously, 15 points out of a possible 18. And they're fully healthy again. We saw how good they can be in Coppa Italia, beating quote-unquote Inter Milan, beating Juventus in penalties. Certainly not captivating or league-winning or dominant performances, but those are 2 really strong Serie A sides ahead of them in the table that they put in a full 90 minutes against. I think that Coppa Italia win will do wonders for their confidence going forward. They have a relatively simple schedule left. They still get to play Spal, who's in the relegation zone. They still get to play Genoa, who is fighting off relegation, Udinese, who's currently in 14th in Serie A. So there are points to be taken here. They're 9 points off Atalanta in 4th, but a couple good results going their way. And then obviously Atalanta's schedule is not easy at all for these last 12 matches. So there could be a play there in Napoli to make a rush for that top 4 spot, one of those storied Italian sides that historically have been the 2nd or 3rd best team in the league that have taken a significant drop-off but are slowly getting back there. Regardless of who we pick here, I think these objectively are probably the 3 most attention-grabbing clubs in Italy. If you want to throw Juventus in there, they can because they're perennial winners. But if you're a fledgling Serie A fan, I don't think you can go wrong with any one of these 3 sides, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned, talking about Atalanta, when you look at the bottom half of the table, there's not a lot of sexy teams out there. It's a big drop off in talent from the top half of the table to the bottom half, and you don't really see that in a lot of the big 5 leagues. You know, the Premier League is pretty even from clubs 8 through 20, and then you look at the team La Liga even too is pretty even throughout. So it's if you're a diehard Italian fan, I guess it's nice that you have 4 or 5 solid teams that are competing every year. But then I think you'd like to see a little more competition on the back end of the table and maybe see some Cinderella teams try to fight for a European spot. But you haven't really seen that in years past.
I
Yeah,
agree.
agreed.
Yeah, I agree. And I think when it comes down to it, I don't want to say that Serie A has the wrong impression of every year being a one-team league because there is a lot of quality. But Juve has always been far ahead and shoulders, at least in recent years, the best team. And obviously, this is before the AC Milan generation. But Juve's always been far and away the best team in recent years. And even this year, when you have Lazio, like, let's be honest, Lazio's playing awesome this year. And Atalanta's been great, too. Inter Milan's been a fun story. But it seems almost not like a fluke that Lazio's here, but almost an anomaly that next year you expect it to revert course and go back to normal in the sense that Juve's going to have a stranglehold on this. But I hope that's not the case. And hopefully that Lazio makes a push and actually wins the league or does something like that. That would be pretty crazy. But if anything, that can only grow the league.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you look at the star players, the central players of this Lazio side. Sergio Milinkovic-Savic could be out the door in the summer. He's been rumored everywhere since what feels like 2017. Ciro Immobile is somebody who also has been linked out of Lazio. Don't know what the likelihood of that is, but certainly somebody who's been generating some steam. So if this is a kind of a last gasp thing for Lazio, they finished 8th or 9th in Serie A last year. The only reason they were in European competition is because they won Coppa Italia, so they got in the Europa League. But definitely a little bit of a Cinderella story here for the current second-place team in Serie A. 3 exciting teams to watch if you are looking to get into Serie A. All 3 of those teams can't go wrong with any one of them. Player to watch, I am very subjectively, I'm very pleased with Andrew's pick. Andrew, who's your player to watch?
Yes, sir. I went the William Fowler route here and went with the wonder kid. There's actually a lot of good young Italian players on bad Italian teams. I don't want to keep bragging on these bottom half teams in the Serie A, but there's a lot of bad ones. But this it's not a golden generation of Italian players, but in 5-6 years we could be seeing Italy back up top of the world rankings come World Cup time, because they're like the U.S. in 2018. They failed to qualify for the World Cup, which is shocking for a common soccer fan to say, well, Italy didn't qualify for the World Cup. But I think these young guys could project them back into front runner status. And one guy that could help them is Sandro Tonali. Plays for Brescia, who is bottom of the table right now. They're already pretty much locked up to be relegated. I think they're 10 points out of the relegation zone. And even with 12 matches, 9 points off the relegation zone. And even with 12 matches remaining, I don't see them getting out of it. But this guy is, if they do get knocked down, he's not going to be there next year. He's going to be back with a Serie A club or another club in the top European leagues. This guy's being compared to the likes of Andrea Pirlo, who, if you're an Italian soccer fan or even a soccer fan in general, it's Andrea Pirlo is one of the best central midfielders of all time, if not even his generation, the past 20 years. And even American fans, when he came over to play for New York NYCFC, we saw him not in his prime, but he was still making moves there in New York. This kid is a phenomenal dribbler. He's a solid passer. He's a very good defensive midfielder as well. He gets fouled a lot with the ball at his feet, so he gives teams trouble. The only thing that he's really iffy about is short passes. He's not the best with his short passing, and his tackling is phenomenal. But you see him working at 90 minutes a game, game in and game out. He's got a high work rate, and he's a very talented guy. He only has 1 goal and 5 assists on the year. But I mean, you look at the guys that he's playing with, and also he's only 20 years old, so he's not going to go out there and blow up the stat sheet. But you look at the guys he's playing with, it's not easy to get a ton of assists when you're not scoring a lot of goals as a team. But the 1 goal he does have this year came in a November match against Genoa, and it was a free kick from like 30 yards out, all the way on the right side, almost a corner kick, and he flings it all the way into the top right corner of the goal. So just a phenomenal set-piece taker like Andrea Pirlo was. There's a ton of comparisons to this kid with one of the Italian legends. But I did see a comment on one of the YouTube videos of somebody made a highlight. This kid's 20 years old and he's already getting highlight packages on YouTube, so that shows you how talented he is. But I saw one of the top comments on it was, this kid is not going to be the next Pirlo, he's going to be the first Tonali. So Italian soccer fans are definitely hyping this kid up. And I'm excited to see not only him finish out this year, election year, but to see where he goes next year, because he's being linked to Inter, he's being linked to Napoli. More realistically, he's being linked to Fiorentina. But I think if these top sides in Italy want to take a chance on this kid, and I think they should, we should be seeing him in a top 6 club next year and maybe in some Champions League football. So I'm excited to watch him play. I'm excited to see his future. Sandro Tonali, remember the name.
Yeah, and if you've seen a picture of Sandro Tonali, I mean, like the Pirlo comparisons on the pitch are certainly warranted, but like put a photo of the two next to each other, and Sandro Tonali looks like a 20-year-old Andrea Pirlo. It's insane how similar they look with the long hair, the long flowing black hair, same position, same style of play. Love it. Banks, who's your player to watch?
Well, first, I just want to say that if anyone has seen Shrek and seen Lord Farquaad, that is Sandro Tonali. In the least disrespectful way possible, because he's an amazing football player, especially at his age, but he looks like the guy from Shrek. With that said, my player to watch is someone who is already established in Serie A. He arguably might be the best player in the world that no one knows or talks about, and that is Luis Alberto of Lazio. And he has been so vital to Lazio this season. He's one of the few players that knows how to play a pass with the right weight and the right precision on it no matter what. And he's a set-piece specialist. And besides that, he leads Serie A in assists with 12. And he's just a player that has really sparked Lazio's attack this season because Ciro Immobile, yes, he has 30 goals in all competitions, 27 in Serie A. But he needs guys to get him the ball to be able to do that. And Luis Alberto is one of the best in the world at that. Still only 27. He could push on and probably go to a bigger club, but he probably is going to want to stay at Lazio long term because of all the success he's had there. Not as sexy of a name as Sandro Tonali or as much of a story, but if Lazio somehow pips past Juventus to win Serie A, Luis Alberto is probably going to have a huge, huge hand in it. And I think he's someone that's been under the radar by the rest of the footballing world. And he's someone that will start to rise to prominence a little bit. Even though he's only 27, if he can pull the strings to the Lazio attack and get the job done on the rest of the campaign.
Yeah, agreed. I think if Lazio even make a run, or I can't even say make a run because they're there already, but if Lazio end up pulling ahead of Juventus and stay there for a significant portion of the end of the season, obviously the accolades and the attention will go to Immobile and to Milinkovic-Savic, but Luis Alberto, you already know they're not going to be able to jump Juventus for a long period of time if Luis Alberto is consistently putting in average performances. All right, my player to watch. As much as I loved the Wonder Kids in general, Serie A is overflowing with them. My player to watch, 32 years old, less than $20 million market value. He's played 7 career Champions League matches. This is a dude who, before you hear the name, by definition is somebody who nobody should care about. But then go figure, he's one of the most serial goal scorers in Serie A, and he attracts attention from all over the globe. I went with Josip Ilicic of Atalanta. Again, like we talked about before, this is a team who don't really have that one bona fide star. It's weird to say because they are far and wide the best goal scoring team in Serie A. I think like 10 or 11 goals clear of Juventus in second, so it's not even close how good this team is at finding the back of the net. And Josip Ilicic is without a doubt the best of that group. Duvan Zapata, like you said, Andrew, is another fair shout for that award. But you look at an Atalanta side, and it's maybe the one team, we talk about it a lot, we use it as hyperbole a lot, and maybe there isn't much legitimate meaning behind it, but Atalanta is a club who, if you are not a soccer fan, you will enjoy watching Atalanta play football. It is unbelievable how good they are just at scoring goals. We talk about Serie A being a very slow league, a very tactically sound league, a very defensive league, and Atalanta is one of the best goal scoring sides on the planet. In the Champions League, it was no different. In the Champions League tie against Valencia, I think they beat Valencia like 4-0 in the first leg and then 4-3 in the second leg. And go figure, Josip Ilicic scored 4 goals in that 4-3 leg. So this dude, I mean, all he does is score. Slovenian international, right? Or is it Serbian? It's one of those Eastern European countries. Slovenian international. And I think he's such a fun player to watch. Atalanta currently 4th in that Serie A race. AS Roma on their heels. But I don't think they'll have too much difficulty stealing that 4th spot, and it's because of this dude, Josip Ilicic, 32 years old. Atalanta is the best side he's played for. You look at his career trajectory, and it's like Atalanta, Fiorentina, and then a lot of like lesser clubs in lesser countries. So this dude, by definition, should not be getting attention from anywhere, but he legitimately is one of the best goal scorers in Serie A. Anything on player to watch before we move on to our top scorer, which I can't imagine will be any significantly long discussion?
Yeah, I think the rest of our preview show is going to be pretty chalk, but we still have some talking points to bring up.
It's going to be a lot of chalk, but we'll try to derive some discussion out of this. Top scorer, the way the chart looks right now, I believe it's Ciro Immobile at 27, Ronaldo at 21, Romelu Lukaku 17, and then the rest of the pack behind him. Andrew, could Cristiano Ronaldo make a significant run at Ciro Immobile for this top spot?
I mean, you'd be foolish to say that he couldn't. I mean, it's Cristiano Ronaldo. And with 12 matches left, he can easily go out there and bag, 15 or so goals and take over Ciro Immobile. But I'm sticking chalk here. I'm going to take Immobile, the clubhouse leader right now. I just think Lazio scores a lot of goals, and he scores the bulk of them. He has 27 this year, and they scored 60 in the league. So he counts for almost half of their goals. And he's not only fighting to win the Serie A Golden Boot, he's fighting to win the European Golden Boot. He's currently in second right now behind Robert Lewandowski, who has 31. And Lewandowski only has 2 matches left. So Ciro Immobile can not only beat Lewandowski, but blow by him with 12 matches remaining. It's just a guy he's really hit his stride late. He's 30 years old, and he hasn't been talked about a lot until recent seasons. And I think, if Lazio are going to go on and challenge Juventus for the title, which they should, they're only a point back with 12 games to go, he's going to be the central focal point of that with Luis Alberto. So I'm sticking chalk here. I think he has enough to – I don't think the 27 goals in 26 matches are a fluke. I think he's going to go out there and continue to find the back of the net and keep Lazio in this title race.
I agree. I don't know what else to add to that beautiful statement. That's why I hesitated for half a second. Ciro Immobile is as clinical and as lethal of a finisher as they come. Yes, with the fact of a striker who finds himself so many good positions, he's going to miss a lot of chances, and he does. I think he's missed 8 or 9 big chances this season in that metric, but he's going to put the ball in the back of the net. And even if he slows down his pace a little bit, I think that's still a goal every 2 or 3 games, which is still a ridiculous tally. So, if he ups his game, that would push Lazio over the top as well. But I don't see a reason for him to get caught, especially because Ronaldo, although you can never count him out, hasn't looked like the Cristiano Ronaldo that we're used to through the first 180 minutes.
Yeah, I agree. I think Immobile is the pick here. He's one of those players who a couple weeks ago we talked about it on the show, like players who don't get the love that they deserve, player who really fly under the radar. I mean, Immobile is on the other side of 30 playing for a not so popular Italian side that doesn't consistently play in European football, but he really is one of the premier goal scorers on the planet. A quick stat crunch for you, non-Ciro Immobile believers still. There is one player in Serie A who has been able to match Cristiano Ronaldo's goal tally with Juventus since he entered the league. Ronaldo scored 21 last year, 21 and counting this year in Serie A. The only player, and he's tied 42 goals with Ronaldo, is Immobile for Lazio. So a serial goal scorer. He's at the top of the charts for a reason. I think you'd be foolish to pick against him, especially if you like Lazio to make a run at Juventus to win the title, because they're not going to be able to do that if Immobile is being held off the score sheet. Champions League race, it's Juventus, it's Lazio. After that, it's Inter Milan, 8 points back of Lazio. Atalanta at 48 points, 6 points back of Inter. And then Roma is in 5th. They're 3 points off Atalanta, certainly within striking distance. Anybody, and we'll start with Andrew, are you picking Atalanta to hold on to that spot, or do you think Roma hops them? Obviously, Atalanta is your club to watch, so I assume that you're keeping with your boys. But any chance that Roma make that leap?
Yeah, I think with 12 matches to go and a 3-point gap, again, it's like the Ronaldo thing. You're foolish to say that Roma can't do it. I mean, and they have the quality to get into it, and they're in the Champions League right now. So obviously they have history. But I think Atalanta, their attacking prowess is too good, and they also have that game in hand. That's going to be crucial. If they go out there and win this weekend and take the 6-point gap against Roma, even with 12 matches to go, I think it's going to be tough for Roma to jump them. And they don't play Atalanta again, so there's no head-to-head matchup that can be a 6-point swing there. So, yeah, I'm going super chalk here. I'm going with the current top 4 right now. And I think that it is deserved. Roma, there's a chance they can make it. And Napoli even, too, with 12 matches to go. I know they're 10 points off. But they could have a chance too with they're sneaky good on the attack sometimes, and they could be riding high off that Coppa Italia win. But I'm sticking with the top 4 here. I just think those 4 sides, they are the best 4 sides in Italy this year, and those are the 4 sides that deserve it. Honestly, even with a 6-point gap over Atalanta, I think Inter Milan may be the squad that maybe has the most trouble getting back into this, just because their form in the second half of the season or at least the turn of the calendar to 2020 hasn't been great. I was very high on them opening up the season, as a lot of people were. They were fighting with Juve for the top of the table, and they were even at the top of the table for most of the first half of the season. But they really dipped in form, like I said, since the calendar turned. So I'm interested to see how Antonio Conte, his tactics roll out after the 3-month layoff. But yeah, I don't see Roma or Napoli, either of those teams penetrating this top 4 here.
Yeah, I remember back when we still had our radio show back in the fall, Andrew. Me and you, full speed ahead on the Inter Milan train. And Banks kind of gave us some crap for it on air. He was like, "You're picking against Juventus. You're picking against the champions." We're like, "No, we like the young boys. We'll go Inter Milan. We'll go with those gorgeous third kits." And now here they are, 9 points back as Juventus with 12 matches to play. So maybe Banks was right in that regard. Banks, what are you looking at? Same top 4? He's doing a little dance. Same top 4, or are you looking at Roma to maybe make the leap?
I'm looking at the same top 4. And when I came into it, I was looking to get compelled to pick Roma or Napoli or even AC Milan or someone like that to make a shot and have a real run. But the points don't make sense. And when I was going through it, every team in the top 6 has been in relatively good form coming into the restart, except for Roma, who lost 3. But everyone else has been winning 3 or 4 games in their last 6. You scroll down, they really pick up points in every match. So the points just look insurmountable to come in. And I don't see Atalanta slowing down, which is the main key, because I think that Napoli theoretically might only lose 1 or 2 games for the rest of the campaign. But I think Atalanta is too good in front of goal where they can put 3 or 4 behind you. And even though they're not the strongest defensively, especially within that top 4 or 5, they're going to score so many goals that it won't matter. So I think it's going to be pretty much the same as usual. And I think the table will probably end up finishing in the same exact order it is now. Although I'd love to see Lazio really push Juventus and at some point hop them.
Yeah, I think if there's a case to be made for Roma, it's that their upcoming schedule might be the easiest out of anybody in this top 6. They don't have to play Lazio again. They play Juve again. They play Inter Milan again. But other than that, I mean, it's Fiorentina, Udinese, Torino, Sampdoria, Spal, and Brescia. All of them are 13th or lower. So that's like, realistically, for Roma, if they're going to make this leap, that should be 18 points. They certainly have the quality to make it 18 points. But in the end, yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to disagree. If you were to pick Roma, you're either betting against an Atalanta team that scores goals in bunches and doesn't slow down in the goal scoring department, or you're betting against an Inter Milan team that is just so all around just good in every – good but not great is what I like to call it. In every single facet. They're a very good defensive team, a very moldable midfield that can play in a number of different formations, and then obviously Romelu Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez as the double striker pairing. It's hard to bet against a team like that, especially in a league like Serie A. I love Roma. I love the players that they have. They've got 2 or 3 young stars too who are going to go on and be special in 2 or 3 years, whether it be for Roma or somewhere else. But it's hard at this stage to bet against an Atalanta team. I was actually thinking before, like when we were still talking about Immobile in the top scorer department, in my head I was like, should I back out of this and change my pick to Roma in the 11th hour? But then Andrew, you made the good point that Atalanta has the game in hand. I didn't even realize that slipped my eyes, I guess. And that match is against Sassuolo, who are not bad, but certainly should be a win for Atalanta. So you can almost pencil in a 6-point lead over AS Roma, and Inter Milan too have a game in hand. That's not something we touched on, but I don't know who it's against off the top of my head. Can't imagine it's against a team that will give them too much trouble. I think it's Cagliari or Sampdoria, but that's kind of a guess. I think we're going to roll with the same top 4 that we have here. Sad as it is to say, that seems to be where we're headed. Not as much wiggle room for these clubs as in Bundesliga or Premier League. All right, league champion. It's a 2-horse race as of right now. I don't think it's difficult to say that Inter Milan are kind of dead in the water as far as this title race goes. Juventus, Lazio. Andrew, are you going with the tried and tested serial winners, or are you going with Lazio?
I'm taking the Jonathan Banks route here, and I'm picking a team that you can't pick against them until they actually do fall. Sure. I'm going with Juve. 8 straight Serie A titles, going for 9. It's not going to be easy, and I think it's going to come. This season is going to come down to a 4-game, 2-week stretch from July 7th to July 20th. The 4 matches for Juve in there: AC Milan, Atalanta, Sassuolo, who's a bottom half of the table team, but they drew Juve in the return match, and then the crucial game, Lazio, on July 20th. And you look at Lazio's opponents in that full recess: Lecce, Sassuolo, Udinese, and then Juventus. So you got to think that Lazio is going to take at least 7 points out of those first 3 matches before they take on Juve. So Juve's got to keep pace with them there with 3 tough matches. But I think, it's just Cristiano Ronaldo and Juventus, just the allure of the two. It's hard to pick against both of them. And although Lazio is on an insane run right now, the last time Lazio lost in Serie A, September 25th. That seems like light years ago. 21 straight unbeaten matches in Serie A. They have slipped up a little bit in Europa League and in the Coppa Italia, but in the league they have been almost unstoppable. And that just shows you how good Juventus is, and they're still up when Lazio is going unbeaten in 21 straight matches. But yeah, I think Juventus has more quality. They have the better individual player out of the two clubs, and they also have a manager who's not afraid of throwing out different tactics out there. And then the sorry ball is something that the Italian clubs are used to seeing, and they still haven't been able to figure it out at Napoli and here in Juventus in his first season. So it's going to be a race to the finish. That July 20th match is going to maybe decide the whole thing, even with 4 matches after that for both sides. But I'm sticking with the chalk here, and I'm going with Juve.
I am as well. I think that there's no reason to pick against Juventus until they show you a reason not to, as Andrew quoted my very frequent type of saying on this show. I think when it comes down to it and you look at the fixture list, they both don't have overwhelmingly challenging fixtures. Maybe Juventus has a little bit harder of a schedule coming up, but I think that Juve just has the experience, the moxie, and the ability to get it done. Not that Lazio don't, but who knows how they're going to react as a club when it really becomes the business end of the season, because we are officially in the business end of the season. I understand they've only lost twice, but let's really see what happens when they are playing these teams. And it all starts with a great match against Atalanta coming up on June 24th.
Lazio have 2 losses all season. One of them against Inter Milan, which is justifiable. The other one against Spal, who are currently 19th in the league, and I think that's the one that's going to come back and bite him in the ass. I mean, when you're a team fighting Juventus for the Serie A title, points like that can't be dropped. Every other one of their results have been either positive, like a win, or a tough draw against a team that you can say, okay, maybe they deserve to draw in that match. But a 2-1 loss to Spal way back in September, too, I think is going to be the Achilles heel. Like you say, Banks, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't bet against them until you have a reason not to. Perhaps that reason could be their poor form in Coppa Italia, but I think all 3 of us agree that that's a drop in the bucket. That's not representative of how they're actually going to play. And if we're looking at this unique situation, we are looking at something that traditionally in the Bundesliga and in the start of La Liga, it favors the bigger clubs, favors the more battle-tested sides. And I think Juventus by far is that club. Lazio, it's a great story, but it's their first year really in the heat of this title race. Juventus have been doing it every single year since we were in middle school. They know how to do it. They know how to get it done. Like you said, Andrew, Sarri is somebody who is fine under pressure. He's not going to let it get to him. And I just think Juventus is the team that will be better suited to weather this weird COVID-19 storm with matches that will lead you into late July. I think it probably ends as a 4 or 5 point gap for Juventus, but the table is certainly not indicative of how good Lazio have been this year, because statistically, as of right now, you can argue if you take the points away, Lazio have objectively been the better side. More goals scored, fewer goals allowed, far better goal differential. But Juventus, despite all that, is the team that's ahead of them in the table. So I took Juventus as well. Kind of a boring pick, but like Banks says, no reason to bet against them if you don't have a reason to. I'm excited for this one, guys. I know Serie A is a league that doesn't necessarily get the love it deserves. It's very methodical, very technically sound, not the most exciting end-to-end play. But I don't know if you guys are excited as I am, but Serie A is one of the leagues that I like to watch a lot. Maybe it's because it's on ESPN, so I can watch it whenever I want to. But I don't know. How are you guys rating your excitement levels for the Serie A return?
It's not the highest compared to the other clubs. I mean, well, Bundesliga, it was unfair because Bundesliga was the first league back. So that's obviously got my excitement. And then the Premier League's coming back as well, and that's obviously the league that I watch the most, and my favorite club plays in that league. But yeah, I mean, it's like the Messi thing with La Liga too. Whenever you get a chance to watch one of the greatest players of all time, you're gonna watch it, regardless of who he's playing. And although Ronaldo hasn't looked the best in the 2 games back since the return, I think he still has some left in the tank. I know he's getting up there in age, and there's even rumors that this might be his last season in a top 5 league. He could be back off to Portugal or maybe even to the MLS. But I think they're going to tamper those rumors a little bit. He's going to get back on form here in these last 12 matches and lead Juve to another title. But yeah, I'm just excited for another league to come back and watch and get some normalcy back in our lives.
Yeah, give me a 7 or an 8 on this. And I'm not Serie A isn't my favorite league by any stretch, but it's football. It's back to return to normalcy. Still love to watch all the highlights of every match. So definitely inject it into my veins as much as you possibly can.
Hell yeah. Welcome back, Serie A. This weekend is the return. Serie A with those weird Sunday, Monday match weeks and not necessarily Saturday, Sunday. So on Mondays, we'll have only Serie A to look at and talk about. So welcome back to the Italian top flight. We're excited to have you back. We're excited to have this title race back. Cannot wait to dive into some more in-depth analysis when things get underway in Italy. That will do it for our special Serie A preview show. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are not yet already, subscribe to us right here on YouTube. We're trying to build our content base, our content stream, and this is just the first step along the way. We've got some more content if you check out our channel. We've got some other league previews there. We've got some of our show clippings. We've got some highlight analysis, some tactical analysis. So be sure to check us out. Just click that subscribe button in the bottom right of your screen. Also, check us out on Twitter at London's Finest QU. We're active there all 7 days of the week with highlights, graphics, articles, the whole 9 yards. We've also got our blog linked there as well in the Twitter bio. It'll also be in the description of this video, stoppagetimequ.weebly.com. And finally, check us out on Periscope, same name, London's Finest. We do weekly shows every weekday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 3 p.m. on Twitter, on Periscope. Same panel, same 3 guys, hop on a Zoom call, talk about the biggest highlights and the biggest news stories of the past 24 hours. Shoot the shit for a little bit, solid 40, 45-minute show. Definitely a fun time. So please check us out there. For Andrew Myers and Jonathan Banks, my name is Will Fowler. Have a great Friday, have a great weekend, and have a great return to Serie A, everybody.